I want you to meet Sam. He's a Wing Chun man, by the way. If you don't know what that is, look it up.
Hey.
This is Sam. Yep. Sam has an aquaponics setup. This looks like about, what, a ton? 1.5 ton?
Yeah, 1,500 litres.
Yep.
And then we have two grow beds there, 500 litres.
So they're sitting across this way because it looks like one giant unit.
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
Yeah, I haven't maintained it, but that's parsley that's just grown out of control.
So you're taking it to seed?
Yeah, look, but those salads I put in literally 2-3 weeks ago.
Unreal. And so you don't mind there being some insects around?
No. They seem to be okay.
Doesn't look like there's anything really chewed on.
No.
More damage done by me.
It is organic. It is organic, so I don't put pesticides or anything. Apparently you can use a bit of the molasses sugar, to mix a little bit of molasses in with water. That sugar coats the leaves and sort of wards off insects.
Nice. Another natural form. So you've got power boxes and things. How does it all work?
Yeah, we just did this rustic. We just had a line from inside the house through the floor, and we just buried it and had it out here to this house.
So this is your waterproof fitting for the rain. Just kidding.
I did have this covered before, yeah.
And the box, what does it do?
Yeah, that's just basically just a power box.
Any redbacks?
No.
Really? Let's have a look.
No. Yeah, it's fine. But this goes to show, like, I have not maintained this system for weeks, probably a month, and it runs fine.
So how did you build it? Like it just pipe, isn't it?
Yep, that's
no screws, no bolts.
Like agricultural piping. They're star pickets.
Yep.
Into the ground.
At an angle then.
Yep.
So picket would come up to what, here?
Yep. And then we've just basically feed that through. These were ribs that help sort of
stabilise the whole thing.
Stabilise it. And yeah, they call that a polytunnel.
Right.
And then just some greenhouse plastic.
Very, very simple.
Yeah.
So a couple of Besser bricks and railway sleepers.
Yeah. And that's
very nice.
Just to give it height. And then we have the siphon. So these are the siphons.
So is this part of the flood drain technique?
Yep.
How does that work?
Well, basically the beds will fill. As soon as they're full, it spills over when it's at about that height. Yep. And then
so you've got a pipe in there, have you?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your spillover height.
Yep.
Right, and then what happens?
And then it triggers a suction from the bottom, which then sucks from down the bottom over the top until it's basically empty.
Right.
And then the bed will recommence
filling cycle. Don't really understand that, but obviously it works.
Yeah.
So you've got water pipes.
Yep.
And do the water pipes take the fish's waste straight into the garden bed?
Yeah, not quite. Just through a gravity drain. This will drain from the bottom, so we're catching all the sediment. That just gravity feeds, gravity drains down into the filter. You need to have some kind of filtration with trout.
So you're running trout?
Yeah.
Can we see them? They're shy.
A little bit of food in. And they were...
Wow, they're active. Fantastic. I'm told you can't really do trout.
Well, depending on the season, because we have a cool winter here, the temperatures are fine. Once the water temperatures get over about 25, it gets a little bit too warm for them and they can suffer a little bit.
Okay.
So
that's why the shade cloth.
That's right. Yeah.
So-
Ideally, that should be covered again. You know, if this was in a carport or something with a roof on it, it would be perfect.
So these are less than a year old, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're about a foot long,
Yep.
or
they're
30
about-
centimetres.
they're about that big, and I got them at about that size.
Okay, so you got them as fingerlings.
Yeah.
And so you've got trout in there.
Yep.
Now let's just go through the waste system.
Yep. So water comes in from the sump tank.
Right.
So here, basically just a sump.
Oh, so this is where your pump is as well.
Yep. Yep. So that's draining constantly.
I just noticed the Yabby or
Yep.
5.
I have a few yabbies in there.
Really?
Yep. And that runs constantly,
Right.
and that half of it will go to the grow beds,
Yep.
and the other half will flow into here.
Oh, so this is a form of aeration.
Yeah, yeah. Just any sort of water disturbance on through the surface tension of the water, you'll get oxygen into the water
Nice. So this is to oxygenate. So this picks up water from the top,
from the bottom.
from the bottom.
Yep.
Is there any point in that? Is that where the nutrients are?
Yeah, just it will. It'll get the sediment. It'll catch the sediment from the bottom. So it'll suck from the base.
I take it you made this yourself?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And then it'll suck up from the bottom and up into the filter.
And so this is...
They call that design like a
shaggy filter.
yeah. So basically you have all the heavy waste will sit down the bottom, which I can then tap out, and that'll go into the garden.
Directly?
Yep.
Nice. Okay, so oxygenation. There must be another system.
Yeah, so just basically an additional aeration. I
Right.
should have a little bit of a bigger one than that, but it's.
I
it
guess
seems
because
to
you've
do
got
fine.
that is you have enough oxygen. Is there any way of telling the oxygen levels?
I haven't tested it, but you can notice through the fish behaviour that
Right.
if they slow down or they start gasping, then you have a serious
So they're as
oxygen
quick
problem.
as, they're lightning fast. What do you
Yeah.
got, 20 fish there now?
About at least 20.
At least 20.
Yeah,
And
I
I saw a
have-
photograph of you with your trout hanging. So how
Yeah.
many did you harvest then?
I harvested about 15.
So you were carrying 35 trout?
Close to 50
Really?
in that tank, yeah, in the 1500 litres. But what I was going to do next, because the water, our climate's warming up, I was going to harvest these fish, and then I was going to have Murray Cod to go in next. So in here we have an Australian native fish.
This is an also standalone aquaponics system.
Yep, it's a separate standalone. So in here we have Australian natives.
Oh, so these are fingerlings. These are tiny little darlings.
Yep, and they love the warm water. I had these through winter, so I insulated the tank and had a 1,000 watt water heater with a thermostat on about 16, 18 degrees.
All right, so at this stage you're not talking about solar power and you're not talking about battery backup.
No.
Well, we don't really have power failures in this part of the world.
Yep. Let's see if I can catch one. So that's a Murray Cod.
You are one little fish.
Oh, very pretty.
Stunning little baby.
And they love the warm water.
So these guys in their natural environment can go up to like 60 kilos.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, they'll grow huge.
All right. So does this have a sump system? It just goes directly into here from here.
Yep.
You've got a system for aeration.
Yep. I should
And
have a little bit more aeration in here than I do, but that's just basically a little bit of aeration
Yep.
there.
you've got the running water. And so
Yep.
this is straight from the fish system into
Yep.
your garden. Is there a flood and drain?
Yeah, that just will flood and then just drains directly. You can see it draining now.
Okay, so how does it? Is it the same thing here?
Yeah, that's
So
the siphon.
that's just a particular valve system
Yep.
for flooding and draining. So
Yep.
it goes up to a point, then sucks air in or something, and then
Yep.
just goes dumps it.
They say you need at least for about every 15 to 20 litres of biofiltration you can have one fish, you can grow out one fish.
So
I've got about 200 there, so I could grow out about 10 to 15 fish.
how big is this tank?
That's about, these come as 1,000 litres, but when you cut them, you take about 200 off here and that leaves me about 600 litres of water.
Right, so you've got 600 litres of water in the base. You've only got one top, so that's like
Yep.
200 litres in
Yep.
the top. So you could put another 3 of these on.
That's right, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's a ton of nutrients. What about your acid balance?
The acid base balance, we test just with a little like liquid testers for marine.
Right, I've got your pool
Yeah.
tester,
Yep.
colour yellow and
Yep.
what have
Yeah.
you.
If you do have a lot of acid, if it does get a little bit acidic, all I'll basically do is I just got some basic garden lime there,
Oh.
and then I'll just add that to the system.
So that's a direct fast system.
Yeah.
Doesn't affect the fish?
No.
Okay. Or the other method, crushed egg shells in a stocking and they can dissolve them
That's
slowly.
right. Sometimes I might put a little bit of just a pot with a bit of like a pillow casing. I'll just get some.
This is really quite large.
Yeah, I'll just put a little bit of that in there.
Okay, so filtration.
Yeah, and that'll just catch some of the solids to help keep the water clear.
So if you used cotton, a singlet or something like that, then you could just bury that in your garden.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. How long does it take these fish to grow to table size?
That'll take, depending on how much food they have, and how much food you give them will depend on how much filtration you have.
And the food is based on you giving them pellets, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you have a night light, and just over here, and night brings the bugs in, and some fall into the pond, and then you're feeding your fish for free.
Yep.
This is a fantastic system. So table size, how long does it take?
About depending on the fish, at least about 8 months.
6 to 8 months.
Yep.
And how big is the table size Murray Cod?
I think you're looking at about 25 centimetres, 30
Right.
centimetres.
So there's no government laws here that say you can't take it out if it's smaller than this?
No, not in these
Not in
enclosed
aquaponics
backyard
systems.
systems. No.
If you go
No.
fishing, you could be in trouble.
That's right, because it's a public water, so they're regulated.
Look, this is awesome. Like if I wanted to set one of these systems up, I'd be terrified to start with. So, like, what did you do to start?
So basically just have your particular type of rock. So this is a blue, they call it a blue drainage gravel. It has to be pH neutral. So when you say grab a handful of those and put them in a glass with some vinegar, there's no fizz at all.
So that's because vinegar's mildly acid.
That's right.
So you just look at it, effectively.
Yeah, if there's no little fizzing bubbles.
And that's
then,
like 15 to 20 mil aggregate.
Yep.
It's not called blue metal. What was it called?
Yeah, blue metal.
Okay.
Yep. And you have that.
And so you can order a pH neutral blue metal.
You just need to check from the supplier yourself.
So you go there with a glass of vinegar.
Yeah, and just look at their rocks, put them in a glass, and that's it. I made that mistake before. I had filled these 500 litre beds with this stuff.
Oh, so that's now the stuff that's here.
That's right. So I made the mistake, and that did fizz, and the plants didn't grow, and that has limestone in it.
Right. Okay.
So that was a harsh lesson learned.
Okay, so then we've got a tank. You get the tank, you cut the top 250 off.
Yep.
place it upside down. So aeration.
Yep. No light. You don't want too much light to where the water is, so you don't have any algae growth.
Yes.
And that's the same in the tank. So you should either paint it, or you can wrap some of the shade cloth around it. Painting it with some kind of, putting some kind of primer, and then a solar guard or something is good.
Yeah,
it will still
bit
scratch
worried
off.
about
Yeah, it will still scratch off a little bit, but if you just cover it, is enough.
Okay.
You'll attach your siphon, have your pump, a decent quality pump, and
So any idea of volume, flow?
This particular one is about 3,000 litres per. That's a 3,000 litre an hour, I believe. The one in my big system is 6,000.
Right. Are they expensive?
That one was about 200. 200. This one was
It was about 150 euros.
Yeah, but that was a Chinese made. That was made in China. This pump was made in Italy. So this one costs almost as much.
All right, and so that's a special aerating system, but to do it on the cheap, what do? Just plug the end and drill a whole series of holes?
Plug the end and just put a whole series of holes, and that'll just give it a
so then,
spray bar.
Do you need an air pump if you've got a spray bar?
Yeah, you should.
Okay, so air pump, water pump, tons of oxygen.
Yep.
And then you need the special draining system.
That's it, just a siphon.
And that siphon, it just sits there, it's free floating effectively?
Yep, yeah, it just sits there.
You make it sound really simple.
It's screwed through the bottom,
so when it drains off, as we saw before, it just pours out.
Yeah, yeah. There are designs online for the siphon, and they're pretty easy to.
Okay, and what can't you grow? That you know of?
Well, root vegetables need a different system. You don't grow them in rock. I haven't explored that just yet. But anything that plant growth you can grow in here.
So what have you got?
In here it has grown very well parsley, tomatoes, but their root growth can overtake it a little bit, so you need to be careful with them.
Okay.
All the salad vegetables,
right.
Spinach, cucumber,
so really,
broccoli.
It's everything you want to eat for salad. Like.
Yep.
Okay, so are there any problems that you've had that you could warn me about, warn these guys about?
I think what you should be careful of, if you do go to a bigger system like this, and you have trout and you have a fish that produces a lot of waste, you need to have a filter. So you need to have something that catches the heavier waste. Okay,
so what we're talking about is the more solid particles of waste.
That's right. If that gets into here and you have too much of it,
it gets sludgy.
It'll clog it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and you have worms. So you want to stock worms in here.
Really?
A nice red worm, and they will eat and break down.
And then the worm poo is like worm tea. It's so good for the plant.
Yeah, and that exists down in the bottom layer.
So wait a minute, you have mountain trout.
Yep.
You've got yabbies.
Yep.
You've got worms.
Yep.
And you've got all your vegetables.
Veggies, and you have a tap for fish poo that you can then use into your ground garden if you like.
Oh my gosh, so compost as well.
Yep.
What do you think? It's an awesome system.
You need to have, for the first lot of bacteria that convert ammonium to nitrite, they come very quickly, but you need to have nitrite in the system before you attract the second lot of bacteria that convert it to nitrates. And to do that, I kicked it off with urea crystals when there was no fish, and that just gave it a boost of ammonium and attracted the bacteria that kind of kicked the system off. And a bit of sea salt, like a cup of sea salt into the system to kick it off. And then in about a month I then introduced the fish, and the system was then able to handle the ammonium.
Did you have plants at the time?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can start to grow your plants immediately.
Yep.
And you don't grow them from seed?
No, I didn't. You can, but I just put them in as seedlings.
Alright, so let's just finalise this poo cycle
Yep.
and water levels because I'm sure they're critical. So we've got our large tank and you've got just a natural sloping drain that drains into here from the base of the tank. So this isn't drained in, it's pumped in.
Yep, so the water by filling up will naturally then suck from the bottom through this pipe.
And this will gravity feed? No, this will pump through this pipe.
Just gravity.
So the water's pumped in, but then fills to the level of that, gravity feeds into this.
Yep.
So this is your filtration system to take out the large chunky bits but not process it at all.
No.
Right. So
and then it just drains again, another gravity drain, and then into the sump.
Wait a minute, what am I looking at here? This is water coming up through the middle?
Yep.
So it's going down into here?
Yep, just down a corner and then back up.
So
just so that then the particulate waste can be going up.
And so then they drain out through a hole where?
That just basically will sink down to the bottom and then I'll just tap that out.
Okay, so the water that's coming out here, the tapping out is now for mulch and...
That's, just for the garden.
So this water's coming up here, that's because it comes down, goes to a U shape or what have you, comes out here, then filters through all that stuff.
Yep.
But then what happens? Because it's coming out there, isn't it?
That just skims the cleaner water off the surface. So we minimise the...
So where does it go from here though?
From there it just will sink down to the bottom.
So you've got holes in the bottom of this bucket?
Yeah. That's
right.
just
And again, a really simple system for holding your bucket in.
This can be improved, this system, but
because you could make this out of a natural material.
Yeah.
And then chuck it in your garden and bury it.
Yep.
So the water just so these are your chunky bits.
Yep. Just bits of food and fish poo.
All right.
And then down the, you can see it. The heavier chunks just.
So because this is kept dark, you don't have a big algae problem.
No, that's right.
Okay, and this is high to a lower level to a lower level.
Yep, and that's the lowest level. That's the sump.
And that's where your pump is.
Yep.
Which then pumps into a fine, like 20 mil pipe.
20 mil, I believe. Yeah, and that goes half over to the fish tank.
To aerate the fish tank.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yep, and then half the grow beds, which I then also have a little tap. I have a tap in there as well.
So this is your in point on your grow bed?
Yep. And there's a final filtration bit of foam there.
Okay.
Yep.
Why did you go all the way around to there instead of just going straight across?
Well, there's two lots. So
there's two tanks here, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and so when it fills up, then you've got your drain system that then automatically just...
On the other side, so it comes in through this side and then the siphon is at this end.
Yep.
And then I have a larger drainage pipe down the bottom from the siphon.
Yep.
Which then basically enters back into the sump tank.
Which is then pumped in there for air.
That's right.
And then, so the water that goes in there, gravity feeds into here, back into here, goes, floods, drain.
Yep.
Evaporation, is that a concern?
A little bit in the tank here. I could design the shade better. I could make that a bit more solid.
And also cover or trees
and
or something.
cover, because this side, nothing on this side needs any light, so I could have this shaded, but this side obviously does need light. Okay,
so more exposed, less exposed, and gravity feed.
Yep, that's all down there.
Can we grab a trout?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd really love to see what these darlings look like. This is to get your level?
Yeah, I just this is improvised.
So, lining.
Sorry. They are very wild.
That's fantastic. It's a rainbow. Oh, you are such a sweetheart. And you're wet. Oh, that is so gorgeous.
Yeah, they're pretty fish.
Beautiful. Thanks again.
They're very happy, they're very wild fish.
Certainly lively.
Yeah.
And are they delicious? Oh,
They
you
are,
smoke
they are
them,
nice.
don't you?
We did smoke
Show
them.
me.
Sure. This is a homemade smoker. So it's just a steel keg. We have a gas burner down the bottom.
Right.
Down the bottom of the keg, held up with some bricks. And then I used like a peach wood chip, and we just sort of, you know, just lay that on the
So
bottom.
really, it's on the bottom. There's no air. You're not burning it.
No.
You're just getting it hot.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And so that smokes, and you lay your fish on the top here.
Yep. And then we just covered that. It's a little bit rough, but it works. And then we just cover that, obviously.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
And how long does it take to smoke a trout?
Oh, we run for about an hour.
Really? 1 hour they're cooked.
Yep.
So it's really a cooking process.
Yep. Yep.
Wow.
They're very juicy and tender.
And I love this sound. Just the sound of running water and beautiful plants. You know, no reason why you can't put this inside. Like that might be a bit big, but
Yep.
gosh, can you imagine having like an aquarium where you can see your fish swimming around and have like little plants in there, and then you can go fishing and put some yabbies out and have yabbies on the barbie. Anyway, thanks again.